Hello, everyone. Thank you for being patient and waiting for us to get all of our ducks in a row.
It's my fault as usual.
I wasn't going to say it, but since he did, we all know what's up with that. So, all right, everybody's in. Take it away, Randolph.
Good. I'm still used to doing our good mornings, right? So I'm almost saying good morning, auxiliary family, but it's good afternoon, auxiliary family. And I know we've got a bunch of people who can't be on at 2 o'clock on the 5th. And so if you're watching later, good afternoon, good evening, good night, good whatever it is, right? We're excited to be back here. Today is the very first of our once a week auxiliary connections, although we found very convenient excuses, right, Julia, to still contact you all every single day and let you know what's going on. So we will continue to find those, but you will receive at least 2 emails from us every week, one on a Monday, just giving you a highlight of what we have from coming down the road in the week. And then as we get these important alerts that come out, you will hear from us. We have some guests with us today, and we're going beyond auxiliaries. We're really excited about this new initiative that the university has started, and they were very gracious. Larry and Tori were extremely gracious in very short notice to come to us and talk to us a little bit about OneUGA. It ties directly into some of the diversity and inclusion efforts we've done here in auxiliaries. And so we're looking forward to hearing. Please give them a very warm welcome, and also feel free to ask them as many questions as possible in terms of how we in auxiliaries can be more involved in this and how we can move.
Did Randolph freeze, or am I just imagining that?
I believe he did freeze. He froze in mine as well, Catherine.
Okay, well, good. I'm glad it's not just me. All right, well, as Randolph was saying, thank you, Larry, for being here. I'm going to go ahead and let you take it from here and introduce us to OneUGA.
For sure. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen real quick. Yeah, for a second there, I was like, oh no, is it mine that's frozen as I'm about to present? But it wasn't. So here we're at. Well, again, I want to thank Randolph and as well as all of Auxiliary Services in inviting me to be a part of this, this weekly talk that you're doing. Randolph talked a little bit about what it was, and I think it's exciting that you all are finding time to get together and discuss and chat about great things on this campus, as well as to keep you all updated. And I'm very happy to be invited and to be one of y'all's guests of this series. And so what I'm going to talk a little bit today is about this new initiative that is coming out of new student orientation, but it's really going to be a cross-campus campaign, movement, and standard here at UGA called OneUGA. What I'm going to do today is provide you a little context about where OneUGA is, kind of how it's evolved into what it's going to be this upcoming fall and moving forward. Talk a little bit about some ideas that we hope will implement this upcoming semester, as well as where we hope OneUGA to eventually go and what we hope for it to be in the future. So like I said, my name is Larry Cloud. I am the Director of New Student Orientation here at UGA. I'm still fairly new. I started back December the 1st of 2019. So this is about month 8 for me. And definitely the last few months have not been anything that I expected it when I first signed up to be Director of New Student Orientation. But I also got my master's here at UGA years back. I'm so excited to be back home. And Tori Tanner is the Assistant Director in New Student Orientation. She's also on the call. Just kind of some backup support with any questions or anything that we need to fill her in with. And so Tori and I are the 2 full-time staff members within our office, and we'll be the main people who will be working with this program on UGA. So like I said, this is what we're going to talk about today, to go through some introductions, which you just met myself and Tori, talk about the Georgia Way. The Georgia Way was the first iteration of OneUGA, and kind of talk about what that was and how it's come to what it is now. Talk about some of the overall goals that we hope to accomplish with this program, to introduce it to you, talk about what the fall 2020 campaign will look like, some future plans, and of course, like Randolph said, for you to ask any questions that you may have about OneUGA and how you as a staff and you as auxiliary services can help support this great idea and initiative that we're starting this fall.
The Georgia Way is about...
I'm gonna pause that for a second. And so Many of you, some of you, maybe none of you, may have heard about this program that we have in orientation called the Georgia Way. The Georgia Way discussions of the program started back in 2014, when we wanted to kind of figure out ways to introduce students to these ideas of respect, equality, inclusion, creating a welcoming environment, talking about some of the issues that happen on college campuses all around the world. Before the Georgia Way existed, here at UGA, we had some like campus issue skits that we would kind of plan and script and then introduce and then perform at orientation. But something that a lot of universities begin to have this realization back in 2014, 2015 is that those types of skits weren't really meeting the objectives that we were hoping that they would. That oftentimes the skits around these issues were often not taken seriously. They were missing the really important messages, and students were kind of like zoning out in those types of sessions themselves. And so for that, we started to discuss how can we make sure that this message, this really important message, is being articulated and being received being received by our incoming students in a really effective way. And that's where the Georgia Way came about. The Georgia Way is a program that we create with an outside consultant whose main job is to talk about diversity, equity, and inclusion on college campuses. She goes all over the nation and creates programs like these for universities in all regions here in the US. And what the Georgia Way is a spoken word that's performed by orientation leaders. It's performed during the first day of all of our first year orientations, as well as at our transfer orientations. And our students get on stage and talk a little bit about what diversity, equity, inclusion, and this welcoming environment, and what being a part of the Bulldog Nation really means, and what this idea of the Georgia Way, how it encompasses these ideas of respect and of equality, of love over hate, all those types of things, talking about the things that have happened on UGA's campus that may not necessarily support that, but how we as a campus, how we as a community, how we as students can really work to make sure that the Georgia Way is a thread throughout everything that we do on campus. And so this is presented every year at New Student Orientation up to this year. Of course, with this year, with everything being online, we were not able to do this in person. And so what we did this year, we created these modules that all of our incoming students had to complete. And as part of those modules, there was about a 7-minute recorded version of the Georgia Way to kind of, again, still make sure our students understood what the Georgia Way was, how that affects their college experience here at UGA, and how they now, as current students at the University of Georgia, can work to support these ideas of the Georgia Way. And so what I'm going to show you right here, not the full 7-minute video, we have like a 1.5-minute teaser video that we also created that was shared on a lot of our social media sometime in the middle of the summer. And so I want to share this with you all so you can kind of get the idea of what the Georgia Way kind of was.
The Georgia Way is about people, not places.
It's about spirit, not spaces.
The Georgia spirit lives between our hearts as well as between our edges.
The struggles we're facing now won't go away quickly or without commitment. We are committed to helping our community beyond the arch.
Whatever your story is, you belong at UGA.
Where civility overpowers hate and respect overpowers intolerance.
We need to find the courage to speak out against injustice.
We are every shade of skin color, every political leaning, every socioeconomic level, every gender identity, and every sexual orientation.
Each individual experience and story adds to the richness of Bulldog Nation.
And you are now adding your own story to the Bulldog tradition.
On our campus,
love should outweigh hate.
Hope should outshine fear.
We are the University of Georgia.
I still get chills every time I watch that. I've watched this video many times, but still gives me chills because I think it's such an important message, especially, what's happening in our world right now. This message was released after a lot of those protests that were happening, a lot of those demonstrations that were happening around the country, as well as the ones here in Athens. And we wanted to show our students and our campus and our community how we here at New Student Orientation, support that and want to support our fight against injustice in the world. And this video plays so great into what the overall Georgia Way is. And so the great thing about the Georgia Way is that now every student that is on our campus currently, every undergraduate student, I will say, has seen some iteration of the Georgia Way. As it did start, it was presented for the first time in 2016. Really, at this point, every student that's here, for the most part, has seen and understands when they hear the Georgia Way, they at least have some sort of context about what that means. The biggest problem that we ran into is that people understand the Georgia Way in the context of orientation. that the Georgia Way was never really carried throughout campus, that it wasn't really present in other facets of their Georgia career, that the Georgia Way, this really important and powerful and impactful message and idea, was very much siloed in what orientation does. And we believe in the Georgia Way so much, and we've seen the impact and the emotions that the Georgia Way can really create and pull out of students. And we wanted the Georgia Way and those messages and those ideas and feelings to not only exist in orientation, but to exist throughout the University of Georgia. And so from there, these past couple of months during the summer, Tori and I and the rest of our staff in New Student Orientation began having meetings with people across campus about how can we make the Georgia Way a part of UGA, not just part of orientation. And so, for example, we had discussions with university housing about how they could put it into their programs and into the residential curriculum. We've talked to the Division of Academic Enhancement about how they can put it into the first year seminar class. We had a discussion with the Office of Student Transitions, who oversees Dog Camp, and to talk a little bit about how can we put this in the Dog Camp curriculum and make this idea of the Georgia Way something that's consistent throughout a college student's career, that it's not, again, not just at orientation, but in many different aspects of their lives. From there, we got a lot of support. A lot of support from the campus partners we talked to, a lot of support from our administration, from my supervisors about finding and using the Georgia Way as a vehicle to kind of spread this message of, again, diversity, equity, inclusion, civility, respect, all those important values across campus. We ran into this problem that the Georgia Way, it became that vehicle, but the Georgia Way is also a trademarked word or program by UGA athletics at the time. And so for us to use the Georgia Way as this vehicle, we knew that there would be some legal things we'd have to kind of overcome or to kind of discuss with athletics and make that a thing. So instead of doing that, we repurposed the Georgia Way into this new idea and this new program that I will discuss with you today, and really what the whole presentation is about, called OneUGA. OneUGA was a campaign that started back in 2016 with housing and the multicultural services and programs. And it was a way to kind of talk about the unique and powerful stories of our students, faculty, and staff on this campus. The tagline is thousands of students, millions of stories, which really tied into exactly what we want OneUGA to be. And that's kind of what we're hoping that OneUGA becomes, is, again, this vehicle to kind of spread this message of equality, respect, and inclusion all across campus, very much in the way that the Georgia Way has done for years at orientation. So our overall goals with OneUGA is, one, to again formalize these ideas, to create some sort of umbrella term, umbrella message, umbrella idea of these ideas of equity, inclusion, and respect. That way, when students hear the words OneUGA from housing, and they hear the words OneUGA from auxiliary services, they hear the word OneUGA from orientation, it's, again, this consistent thread of these ideas and messages and values throughout their entire campus career. Because the reality is, this work has been happening all over campus for years and years and years. But the work has been happening in very much individual silos. That we do our diversity and inclusion work in orientation and admissions, housing does their own, student affairs does their own, auxiliary services does their own. But the UGA campus doesn't realize all the work that's really being put towards this work under the big umbrella of UGA. So what we want UGA to be, what we want OneUGA to be, is to kind of be the umbrella. That way, when students ask what is happening on this campus to work towards, towards justice and equality on our campus, we can point to OneUGA as kind of this formalized message and idea and movement on our campus. We want to work with many campus partners. That way, it's not just New Student Orientation doing this work, but it's everyone across campus, that no matter where a student ends up or where they turn, they can get these ideas of respect, inclusion, and that their story matters throughout their experience wherever they're at. And to kind of start off, and what this fall is going to look like, is this cross-campus campaign that's going to help introduce our students, our faculty, our staff, and really our entire UGA campus community to what OneUGA is, and kind of the ideas and values of what OneUGA hopes to instill throughout our campus. And so what is UGA in the short term? In the short term for this upcoming fall, OneUGA is going to be a method for sharing diverse stories from across campus, and really, again, spreading this institutional standard that every member of the Bulldog family is valued. That no matter where you're from, no matter how you identify, no matter what your story is, that your story is valued here at UGA. Whether you're a white student from rural Thomaston, Georgia, who is a business major, or you're a student from China who's come to the US for the very first time, that your story is unique, it's valued, it's important, and that you're not the only person on this campus that has that story, that there are other people here to kind of help develop that sense of belonging. Our objectives are the ones on the right: to celebrate diversity, to develop the sense of belonging, to create a platform for student, staff, and faculty to share their stories, and to again introduce the institution and to begin those steps towards these long-term plans for what we hope OneUGA becomes. In the short term this fall, this is going to look like a campus-wide social media campaign, which we'll go over here in a second. There will be some community engagement about how we want to engage our campus partners as well as our students here at UGA. There will be some print campaigns and things that we're working on, as well as a website where these stories will kind of live, where students and faculty and staff members can go and peruse some of the stories that exist at UGA, as well as submit their own. And I will kind of show you what the mock-up of that website is going to look like here in a second. So the social media campaign is going to be, we're going to reach out. We want this social media campaign to focus and to show stories of students, of faculty members, of staff and alumni of UGA about what it means to them to be a part of this idea of OneUGA, to be a part of the Bulldog Nation, to talk about their story, about where they're from, maybe some of the struggles that they face, and really what that means for them to be a part of this community here at UGA. For our faculty and staff and students to be able to provide their own stories and their own photos, and to kind of put those things in their own words. It will allow them to share resources and opportunities to talk about within their stories how they were maybe able to overcome certain obstacles or things that they were faced as they were transitioning here to UGA or becoming a part of the community. There will be some templates that we've created where campus partners can literally just drag and drop a picture with these branded OneUGA templates that we've created. That way, it will really look like a really awesome cross-campus campaign in collaboration where there will be multiple people from all over campus doing that. So we've had discussions with Auxiliary Services, of course, Student Affairs, Housing, the Office of Vice President of Instruction, faculty members, alumni, some of our students. And so our hope is that as the beginning of the semester begins here in a couple weeks, that students will be able to see OneUGA all over everyone's social media, and they can begin to kind of ruffle up some of that excitement and curiosity about what it is. And again, to get those messages that we know are really important to these students. There'll be some collection points where we will collect messages from our campus partners, as well as allow our current students to send in their own stories as well. And like I said, it will be shared on multiple accounts with the media assets that we kind of create and show. So for example of what some of these will look like, Carson Cook is a former orientation leader of ours, and this is his story. He talks a little bit about being a first-generation student, how that identity kind of has affected him, how he's been able to create and be one of the founders of the First Gen Celebration Week that started last year, and really talking about some of the people in his life here at UGA that's helped him overcome some of the obstacles that he has faced for him to be such a successful student. And so stories like this, what we want to see is other first generation students to look at Carson's story and say, oh, I'm a first generation student and I already have some of these concerns. And sometimes I feel alone, but I see someone like Carson who has some of the same struggles that I feel like I may have or that I'm already having, but to see that Carson has been able to overcome those things, and not only overcome those things, but really thrive on this campus. Another example of a story is Aquarius Raglan. He's one of our current orientation leaders. He talks about being raised in a single parent home and about how there's some struggles or some obstacles that came from that, but how he was able to kind of be instilled these certain values and this certain strength because of the way that his mother raised him. And so you'll see that there will be the story that our subjects within these pictures will kind of create on their own. And then there will be a picture on the other side that again will have these OneUGA templates over them, so people will kind of know what those look like. A couple other examples. So like Alexis Watson, I think one thing that we know about stories is that they don't always have to be that I had all these struggles, that all these things happened. It could be just a normal story that, you know, Alexis talks about being from Metro Atlanta, where a lot of our students come from, talking about some of the things that she kind of went through to kind of find her place and to feel comfortable here at UGA. Isabella is one of our alumni who was an orientation leader, talks about the great things that she was, talking about coming from a Latinx background and a broken home and how that was kind of affected her as a UGA student. And then lastly, having some staff members to be a part of this as well. Amanda Torrance works over in Tate and in ELS, and she talks a little bit about, she also went here to UGA for undergrad and master's to talk a little bit about her experience again, and how now she works here at UGA to kind of show a staff perspective again, that our stories are here, and that no matter who you are as an incoming student, there are people on this campus who have a story like you, that you're not alone, that your story is valued, and we want you to feel welcome here at UGA. That's what we want this OneUGA social media campaign and really fall campaign to really do for our students. A couple of print campaign things we're hoping to do. We're creating some posters and some digital graphics. I talked to Randolph and Allison Brandon earlier this week, and I talked to our graphic designers yesterday, and we're going to work on creating some bus cards. We're about this idea of OneUGA to be able to put those in the bus card, to creating some posters that could be in the bookstore or in the dining halls, and that way students are seeing and being exposed to this idea of OneUGA, again, not only in just one place, but being exposed to it throughout the UGA campus and throughout their UGA experience. That way they can see that OneUGA really is this cross-campus effort that we are trying to create to kind of, again, speak to those messages that we know are really important. We're hoping to have a OneUGA day where these stickers would kind of exist and allow us to kind of put those out there, as well as a logo that we'll share with campus partners. That way everybody on OneUGA day would kind of change their Facebook profile into this image, into this logo, to again show this unity across campus about this idea that all stories are valued, all students are valued, and that we're here to support that. We're also working on a website, and so this website is kind of based on a website that exists at the University of Virginia called the Voices from a Diverse Community. But to kind of show you what that will look like, I'm going to stop sharing this screen and then share this other screen. So you'll see here, this is kind of what this website will look like. That there will be our logo on the top. This is a little bit about what we want OneUGA is. Students will be able to share their story here, which will bring them down to the bottom where they'll kind of share their name, their email, kind of what their story would look like, as well as a picture. And then you'll see here, there'll be just a hodgepodge or a collage of the actual stories that we will be featuring. And so what we're asking from campus partners, including what we've asked from auxiliary services, is for them to find 5 to 6 stories from their area, from students within their area, from staff members in their area, to kind of create and kind of have these stories and send them to us so we can populate this website. And so what will happen is when a student clicks on one of the stories, it will look like this. Y'all are the first people besides me and Tori to see this, by the way. So it will pop up into like a little light box where it will again show the picture that is created with the logo, their name, and maybe what they do on campus or what their year here is at UGA, and again, an example of their story. And people will be able to scroll down to kind of see the whole story as well. So what we hope this website becomes is just a place where students can go to kind of, again, see the multiple stories that exist on our campus, and that again, every story, every person, every student, every staff and faculty member on this campus has a unique story, and that it is valued here. It will also allow our current students who may not be in one of these feature stories to be able to share their own story. And what we will do as an office is to choose some of those stories that we want to then focus on, as well as spotlight on our website, as well as in some of our social media too. That way those stories that maybe a student says, I have a really cool story and I would love other people to hear it, we can focus on those and spotlight some of those within this really cool campaign. And then these are some of the things so this is not that important. These are some things that I've talked to about Allison, about some things that we'll provide them as well. In the future, what we want is that we don't want this just to be a campaign. I think one of the biggest fears that Tori and I have is that OneUGA becomes this, people will reflect back and say, you remember that really cool social media campaign that happened in 2020? I wonder what happened to that. That's not what we want this to be. We don't want this just to be a one-time, really cool social media campaign that happened in fall 2020. We want this to become this movement and this standard on this campus, that the idea of that everyone is valued, that everyone is welcome, and everyone is included on our campus is that standard of UGA, that is threaded throughout everything that we do. Some things that we've already started to work on is, I've talked about some of these things already, having a OneUGA day, working with the Division of Academic Enhancement and putting it in their freshman seminar class. We are completely redoing the Georgia Way and calling it OneUGA, and so talking about how we deliver that and how that message is a little different, how we train and how we select and how we have our orientation leaders apply for these positions. And Missions is having a new series called Real Talk, which is kind of, I like to equate it to, if any of you watch True Life on MTV, it's kind of like that series. It's going to be a webinar series where it's going to be like Real Talk, I'm a rural student in Georgia, or Real Talk, I'm a first generation student, I'm here at UGA, where these students can come on and talk about what that means with other students who identify that way, and which kind of fits into this idea of OneUGA. And so as you can see, there's a lot of things we're already trying to do, but what we want OneUGA to be is to be a part of many things on our campus. And so I think this, these weekly talks that you all have talked about, and Randall talked a little bit about how you talked about things about race and racial injustice, and some of the great conversations y'all have been having over the last month or so, last couple of months during the summer, is that we want to be able to highlight that kind of stuff is happening in auxiliary services, right? That I think a lot of times our students see us strictly from the facade of what we're doing on a day-to-day basis, but don't always know the behind the scenes things that we are doing as a campus to work towards, again, these ideas of respect and inclusion on our campus. We want OneUGA to show students what those things are, as well as to challenge our campus to do more, and to kind of figure out what we can do to continue to grow and strengthen this standard and this movement across our campus. Because one of the big things about the Georgia Way, one of the lines that I love is to reflect and to realize that UGA is not by any means even close to perfect. But what we will constantly do is try to strive to how we become better. And we want OneUGA to be kind of that push, that motivation, that momentum to kind of help some of that growth and betterment on our campus kind of happen. And again, provide that umbrella for those things to kind of happen here at UGA. One of the ways that we are going to be working with auxiliary services in this is, of course, collecting stories from some of the staff members, students that work within auxiliary services. I've been working with Allison Brandon on this, and she told me that I could share with you all that she'll be reaching out to some of you all to kind of be able to share your stories and take these pictures, so that way y'all can be featured on the website and be featured on the auxiliary services Instagram. Because I think you all and your staff and the people who work in this area play such a large part in our students' lives. But oftentimes students may not know your stories. I think we've talked a little bit about like what are some of those stories that'd be really cool. And I don't know if these people are in the room or not, so I'm sorry if you are, and I'm embarrassed you or call you out right now. But like, for example, some of the things that we've talked about with some of our campus partners is Derek at Starbucks. Like everybody here at UGA, every student at UGA who's ever been to a Starbucks knows Derek, right? I've only been here. Typically, I've only been on campus for 3 months, and I know who Derek is because of my interactions with Derek. But like, how many of our current students or incoming students know the story of Derek, like where Derek is from, or how he identifies, or what brought him here to UGA or here to Athens, but be able to see not only who Derek is on the outside and how he works and how he greets those people at UGA, but also to know a little bit more about Derek. It can be so impactful for our students to kind of say, oh, look at what Derek does. I identify with very closely with maybe how Derek identifies, and there's a person on this campus who I can relate to and find that connection. That's what we want from OneUGA to be in the short term here in the fall, and really excited to partner with auxiliary services as well as many other campus partners on our campus to kind of make this happen. So I know that was a lot, and so you may be saying, what this happened? What is this guy talking about? That was a whole bunch of stuff. But I also want to open up to any questions that you may have about this initiative or about what we do, and any of those types of things. And so, yeah.
Thank you so much, Larry, for that overview. Are there any questions or comments or just thoughts from folks in the room that we can put out in the open? I know there's a lot to take in, and Allison and her team and the HR team will work hand in hand to get some of these stories out. We have our connection site that we can use to even feature some other further stories. So any questions or comments from people on the call?
No questions in the chat box yet. Jean did say about halfway through, she said, now that's thinking bigger.
Yes.
Catherine, you've got to give Larry and Tori a sense of what thinking bigger is for us in auxiliary.
Okay, so so thinking bigger is the mantra that Robert, that's the legacy that he left us with. So, you know, the way he's always said it to me, and it was funny. He'll say, "Yeah, that's a great idea, but think bigger. How much bigger could this be?" And yeah, we could do something with auxiliary, you know, with the Zoom, but think bigger. How bigger can we go with these things? And so that's where we are. Everything. Don't think about it just in the small spectrum. Think about it out as far outside of the box as you can get, and still even see that there is a box there, if you will. So
I love that. Yeah, I think that's kind of where this all started. That, you know, the Georgia Way is impactful, but it's very much only an orientation, and we understood that and saw that, and like you said, to think bigger about how can we push these things across campus and make this again a thread throughout a student's experience at UGA, not just a thread that happens in the 2 days that they're at orientation. And we saw an opportunity, and you know, Tori can attest to this, and my staff can attest to this. I'm a big picture person. I love to think bigger, and I love to challenge some stuff and try some stuff out. And I'm excited to see what this kind of does. So yeah, that's great. I love that. I love that that mindset. That's great.
So looks like Jean's got her hand up for a question. Go ahead, Jean.
Good afternoon. I have a comment and then a question.
Okay.
I really think that this concept, I applaud you for it, because the conversations that happen each freshman year are different. And so this not only unites the freshman class, but it unites everyone on campus.
Right.
And then it goes into our community as well. It's not just, you know, University of Georgia is not just its own personal city. You know, we go out in our communities, we witness, we have conversations at the, you know, checkout lines, the bus station. There's just so much conversation to be had through this concept, and I just applaud the both of you and all of the team members that you had to go through this with you.
Thank you for that.
The question that I have is, did you come across any roadblocks other than, I guess it was, you said the athletic association because of the OneUGA or One Way or UGA Way, or what was your biggest roadblock through getting this to succession?
For sure. Yeah, I think one of the things, I think anytime that you do this type of work, or you put the letters UGA on anything, there are people who are much higher than me, much higher than the president even, who look at it and, you know, have thoughts or have feedback. As you all, I'm sure you all know, UGA, all the eyes in the state of Georgia are on the University of Georgia. And I think with that, anytime you create a program like this, you have to be very cognizant of that and be really aware of that. And so I think one thing that I was really aware of and that I wanted to make sure that we did before we move forward with this is that we had lots of support from like our administration and people from the president's office, et cetera. And luckily we've had that. And so I think once we've been able to do that, we've really been able to move forward and get tons of support from campus partners. I think that was one of the things we were worried about, is that we proposed this to all these campus partners and no one wants to get on board, but really no one has said no to this work that we've done or this idea, which has been something that's been really promising to us. I think the other tough part, or the two other tough parts, the other one is the timeline. You know, this is kind of all kind of came into fruition in the last, probably the beginning of July. It's when this has really kind of taken off. And we've gotten a lot of support and a lot of momentum in this, which is great. And we want to really take that momentum and take advantage of the momentum to be able to do something great this upcoming semester. But at the same time, we don't want to rush it, right? We want to make sure that it's high quality, that it's very impactful, that the messages make sense, and that we're getting what we want to kind of come across. And so to be able to do all those type of things while also planning an orientation during the summer has been a lot. But I think, again, the support from all of campus has definitely helped us out a good bit. And I think the last piece is this idea. What was the last piece? And I can just completely forgot what the last one was. The last obstacle. Oh, I think the last obstacle is what I've seen, and like I said from the, and I said what I hope the future of OneUGA is that our concern and something that we're trying to make sure that we battle and that we prepare for is that we don't want this just to be lip service, right? That there are a lot of programs and a lot of things around the nation that do stuff like this or say stuff like this, and then students ask like, "What? Okay, that's great. I love the pictures and I love the stories, but like, what really is the University of Georgia doing?" And so we wanted to make sure that when we debut this and when we do this, that it's not only saying, "Hey, look at this really cool story and picture that Larry put on his Instagram," but also to say, "Look at these really cool stories and how they kind of build into this idea of inclusion." But also, this is how we at UGA are working towards supporting and creating this idea of OneUGA on campus. Because we all know that our students are super bright, and you're not going to like just be able to wrap something like this in a gift and say, "Hey, here it is." They're going to ask questions, or they're going to ask why, or they're going to ask how. And I think we just want to make sure that we're prepared to show them how and show them where we want this idea of OneUGA to kind of go. And so I think that's something that Tori and I have been really intentional about, is to kind of talk about short term, what does this look like in the next month or two, but long term, like where do we want OneUGA to be? That way, when we get those challenges, when we get those questions, when we have those discussions with students and some of our partners, we can say, this is what we hope this becomes, and this is what we envision OneUGA kind of being in the long term. But great question. Thank you, Gene. I appreciate that.
Larry, is there a way for folks to watch the full video?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, we have a version that I can definitely share out to you. Who I can send it to maybe to one of you all, Catherine or Randolph, and then if y'all want to share that out with your staff, we would be happy to allow you all to do that.
Okay, that'd be great.
And
yeah,
we have
it's a 7-minute. It's definitely a little longer, but it kind of definitely goes more into ideas and some of the values that you saw in the short 1.5-minute video. It's a great video. The people who made it for us did an amazing job. All the students you see there, those are our orientation leaders from this past summer that just ended. Well, like yesterday, just ended. And so they have a great impact and share some really great perspectives within that presentation as well. So yeah, I'll be happy to share that.
Yeah, we certainly would put it in our emails that we send out so that everybody has access to that, and then include it on the Connections resource page. Jane and I were thinking along the same line. So one of the things we do on these sessions, Tori and Larry, is we do something called a day in the life of, and so we ask, just everyone from our VP to just any member of our team, what's your fun UGA story or your most memorable UGA story? So you all have been around orientations and around a lot of the students. What would you say are your best fun or most memorable, pick any one of those, UGA story that you could share with us today?
That's a tough one. Tori, are you there? Do you want to share your story? You've been here a little longer than me.
Yeah. Sorry, you all. I haven't been feeling great today. That's why I'm in the background back here, but I am here. Goodness. I think that when I think about fun times with UGA, I definitely think about orientation and the summers that I've gotten to spend with the orientation leaders. Obviously not necessarily this summer. It was fun, but it was not fun in the exact same way as it usually is. So we will typically do kind of like a dance party with first year students at orientation before orientation live starts, which is just a bunch of humorous skits that the OLs put on. And I love that dance party because I think that it allows a lot of students to feel really comfortable, students who are interested in dancing, and then there are some who are not. And so orientation leaders will go sit out in the crowd with those who are not so comfortable dancing. So I don't know, a smile is always brought to my face when I see OLs dragging students up to the stage to dance, and the students at first act like they hate it and then they love it. And I think that's just kind of like a picture of what we want to do at orientation, is to bring students into a space that they're nervous about and then make them feel really comfortable and at home there.
Yeah, I think that's a good one. I think for me, and so we just had this is just really fresh in my mind. And like I said, I've been here now for about 8 months. And so I'm still fairly new in this role, even though I did go to school here. But I think in this role, yesterday we had our end of the summer celebration where we brought all our orientation leaders together. We, Tori and I were there, our graduate students were there to kind of wrap up the summer and kind of reflect. And I think, especially because of this summer, again, the summer that Tori and I, our graduate students, our orientation leaders that we all signed up for back in December or January was nothing like what this summer actually was. That, we have one graduate assistant who's worked with us now for the last 3 months, who literally Tori and I have never sat in the same room with, which is a crazy thing to think about. But I think yesterday's celebration, it allowed us to really reflect on like how crazy the summer was, but also to reflect like how we were still able to make an impact and how meaningful the summer was, and how we were able to kind of find value or find just opportunities within this crazy summer. And so I think that was really nice to hear, because I think especially with in-person orientation, you get like this instant gratification because you see parents coming up to you saying thank you, or you see a student who's really excited at the end of orientation. And virtual orientation, Tori and I don't necessarily get that as much because we're not having those interactions. So I think this end of the summer celebration yesterday, it was a nice little reminder that we are doing really good work, that we are still leaving impacts on this campus and with our students. And so I think that was so meaningful, especially because of this crazy summer that we had. So I think I really appreciated that a lot. Jean asked, how many orientation students do you have, and how do students get into the team? Great question. So we have 16 orientation leaders that we select every year. Typically, we start recruitment of orientation leaders early fall. We do interviews sometime in October, and then we notify them if they've been a part of the team, usually early November. That schedule may change a little bit this year, just with some of the new things that are happening on campus with some of the new policies, et cetera. But we definitely, it's hard to miss when we start interviewing or start recruiting for orientation leaders. And so I think all of you all, I know some of you, there may be some students in the room, but there also may be some people who just work closely with students or have colleagues or coworkers who are students. If you know one that you think would be a great representation of UGA, like let them know about being a part of the orientation leader team. It's a full-time, it's a paid job over the summer. They get a lot of great compensation, a lot of great perks and swag that we kind of help them as well. But they also really get a great experience to kind of impact the incoming class of students and kind of be that resource, that mentor, that friend for these students who are kind of starting their journey here at UGA.
All right, thanks, Larry and Tori. We've got another question from Lene. You maybe already thought about this, but it would be great to link out the student orgs and resources that link up with the type of story that's being told at the end of the blurb. That way students have those options right there while they're already thinking about their identities and similarities with folks.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea. I think the involvement network in those organizations is a great resource. So I think any way that we can connect them to that makes lots of sense. So I appreciate that suggestion, Lene. Thank you so much.
So we'll continue to solicit ideas. We'll work through Allison's team and Central HR folks, not Central HR, and Auxiliaries HR folks. So as members of the Auxiliary family, are thinking about ways that they can contribute or having questions about OneUGA, please feel free to reach out to us, and we'll get those connected. And you'll hear from the marketing and communications team shortly about other ways. Any final words for us, Larry or Tori?
No, I think you said, Randolph, if y'all have ideas, I think, again, OneUGA, the success of this program depends on our campus partners and opportunities to collaborate. So if you have more ideas or suggestions or thoughts, feel free to email us, lcloud@uga.edu. That's my email address. I'm always open to suggestions or ideas. And I'm a big collaborator. So any way that we can help or collaborate, let me know. But again, thanks for letting me chat and talk about OneUGA, and also, thanks to the support of y'all's team to allow us to, to partner with us this upcoming fall.
Absolutely, and this certainly isn't the last time we'll have you on one of our Connections event. If we move to a podcast format, That will give the OneUGA initiative some time to grow, and we'll be more than happy to have you all back to talk a little bit more about that. So thank you. Larry and Tori, feel free to hang if you want. If not, folks, we're going to use the next couple of minutes to just quickly talk about a new feature, the DogCheck feature for COVID reporting. Julia, is it possible to pull up that website? And if Allison is on as well, Allison, feel free to chime in and talk about DogCheck. I'll give a big overview and then we'll go from there.
Are you seeing it?
Yes, ma'am, we are. All right, so DogCheck, for those who haven't heard about this, is the way of reporting kind of your status. So it's ensuring that we in the UGA community remain safe, not just for ourselves, but making sure that our co-workers are safe as well. The university has made it a priority, and this system was built, I would say, thanks to all of the auxiliary leaders who also participated in the building of this. Behind the scenes, what we've done from auxiliaries is that we've included every single auxiliary space, including our bus routes, such that if somebody if one of those places become exposed, that the tracing and tracking that's required can happen in an expedited manner. So I'm really grateful to all of the auxiliary leadership who helped build this system through making sure that all of our spaces were represented. But what DogCheck is really a tool that you can self-report. The university is strongly encouraging every single staff member and every single student to, on a daily basis before coming to campus and engaging with our community, to do a self-check. So the thermometers that you have was a part of that process. So doing your self-check, reporting that into the DogCheck system, so that if you are sick, or if you are having symptoms, or if you are infected with the COVID-19 virus, we're able to make sure that others in the community isn't exposed to it, or that we do the proper tracing. So there will be more information that come out on this. I wanted to just make sure that we're beginning to get this on our radar. This process starts August 10th. So starting Monday, every single one of us will have to go in prior to coming to campus and engaging on campus and do a reporting here. Allison, are you on? Are you in a place where you can unmute and give any further information?
Yeah, I'm here, Randolph. And I mean, I think you covered it pretty well there. Just to let everybody know, we are going to be sending out some more information about this, most likely through the Auxiliary Connections email. So you'll receive more information. We're also going to be providing leadership and management, and then any of our other teams who need it, talking points that they can reference if you get questions from students about the program. The talking points will help guide along the benefits and encouragement, for going through this program, but also a really important feature for us as staff members and members of the UGA community. We also have a good bit of signage that's going to go along with this, and that signage will be placed in our units around the time clocks, but maybe even in some customer facing areas to help UGA promote this overall message and support this program. So you should start to see those resources coming out here pretty soon.
Absolutely. Thanks, Allison. And again, we know that there are a number of people not on the call, but kindly virtually or physically, and make sure they understand that it is important. We're at our safest at Georgia when each of us takes safety first, and we do our checks for symptoms and we report those as fast and as efficiently as possible. If you also haven't had an opportunity to do your return to campus training, please make sure to do it as soon as possible. It is in the PEP system. Speak to your managers. We'll also go, thanks, Julia. Julia's showing you what the PEP system is. It's just pep.uga.edu. and is a training that every single one of us, students, faculty, staff, have had to do in order to return. I know, a few months ago, there were lots of questions about safety and health and all of that. And I know these questions continue. Every single one of these mechanisms are things that the university have put in place to ensure that we're keeping our community as safe as possible. So your full and daily participation in these will be really, really crucial and important to how we keep our locations safe, keep our customers safe, but most importantly from us, that how we keep you safe. Any other thoughts, Allison, or final thoughts, Catherine?
I just placed in the chat, Randolph. We're also putting links and resources to information about DogCheck on the Connections webpage. So that should be available here soon.
Thank you. All right, well, Catherine, I'm going to turn things back to you. Auxiliary family, thank you so much. It's weird just talking to you only on Wednesday, but I'm looking forward to finding opportunities and stealing opportunities to continue to engage with you.
Agreed. We went from all day, felt like all day, every day, to now just once a week, and it's different. It's been some getting used to, but we'll get there. I hope everybody has a safe rest of your day, your week, if I don't talk to you between now and then, and look forward to everybody being back on Monday. Don't forget about the PEP. If you have questions, reach out, and you can use the auxiliary survey and feedback link to provide that OneUGA feedback there as well. So,
Catherine, I forgot one announcement. So if y'all can bear with us, we have been invited, auxiliary family, dining have invited us to a soft opening at Bolton and Summit. Correct me if I'm wrong here, but I think that's what it is. Bolton and Summit, starting at noon on August 10th, right? Is that correct?
I thought it was 11.
August 11th and 12th.
August 11th. Yeah, I knew I was going
at
to get
11 a.m., not noon.
Well, thanks, Claudia. I appreciate it. I knew I was getting something wrong there. But 11 a.m., August 11, it's a soft opening. Come up and help us kind of test out these lines and structure and getting people in and out. But come out and try some of the good stuff that's on the menu as well. So 11/11, according to Maggie, 11/11. Remember to come. It is on campus. It is in a UGA building. So please don't forget to bring your issued mask with you, because we will require that when you come in. So looking forward to that. It should be a fun time.
Don't forget, that's something you need to sign up for. So the email went out, the Auxiliary Connections email, it went out this morning, and it had the link, and those are the reservation RSVP is due no later than Friday.
Yes, please sign up. We're gonna actually try to make this a mini reunion if we can. So sign up and tell a friend to sign up so that we get to see you all again.
All right. Thanks, everybody. We'll see you on Monday, and then for lunch. Bye.